Thank you for attending this session of Tennessee Medical Association's Spotlight Videos. Today's video will discuss the continuing medical education requirements for physicians with a Tennessee medical license. There are two physician licensing boards in Tennessee. Medical doctors are licensed by the Board of Medical Examiners, or BME. Osteopathic physicians are licensed by the Board of Osteopathic Examination, or the BOE. Each board has CME requirements for its licensees, and they will be discussed in depth in the following slides. Prior to 2001, a physician did not have to complete any CME to renew a Tennessee medical license. The General Assembly passed legislation in 2001 that was effective for renewals beginning in 2004. Then, the BME and the BOE each created rules to provide greater detail so physicians could comply with the new law. You can find the entire text of these rules on each of the board's websites, which are listed on your screen. We encourage physicians to read the rules in order to have a clearer understanding. In Tennessee, a physician must obtain 40 hours of CME in the 2 calendar years that precede the year in which your license renewal date falls. Many physicians are under the misconception that he or she has until the license expiration date to obtain the 40 hours. However, you must have completed your CME by December 31st of the year before. For example, if a physician's license expires on November 5th, 2016, all CME must be obtained between January 1st, 2014 and December 31st, 2015. The TMA Legal Department receives phone calls all the time from physicians who renew in the current year, believing that there is still time to get the required CME. A physician may obtain all 40 hours in 1 year or 2. There is no specific requirement of hours per year. The penalties that may apply for noncompliance will be discussed later in this spotlight. Both sets of licensing rules state that a physician may not count a course more than 1 time per year, no matter how many times it's attended. Only the actual number of hours in the course may count toward the 40-hour requirement. A physician may take any course that he or she considers appropriate continuing education, with one exception. The exception is that at least 2 CME hours must include instruction in controlled substance prescribing and the Tennessee Chronic Pain Guidelines developed by the Department of Health. Additional topics, such as medicine addiction, risk management tools, or topics approved by the licensing board, may be included, but the main 2 topics must be adequately covered. The guidelines were created to assist with outpatient management of chronic non-malignant pain and may be found at the website on your screen. TMA has developed a 2-hour course that meets all of the requirements and has been approved by the BME. Often, physicians call the TMA Legal Department to ask if a course they have taken will satisfy the 2-hour requirement. TMA staff is unable to answer this question, and we tell physicians to make sure that the course covers all the required topics mentioned on this slide. If a course vendor is unable to confirm that, be very wary of signing up for the course. It may not count as the 2-hour requirement. The BME has specific requirements for acceptable CME. It must be sponsored by an organization accredited as a sponsor of CME by either the Accrediting Council for Continuing Medical Education, or ACCME, or by a state medical association recognized by the ACCME as an intrastate accreditor of CME sponsors. Additionally, the CME must be designated or certified by the sponsor as meeting the criteria of Category 1 CME of the American Medical Association's Physicians Recognition Program, or be designated by the American Academy of Family Practice as meeting its prescribed credit. Another means of earning CME credit is to provide disciplinary case review. If a licensee provides disciplinary case review at the request of the Department of Health and submits a written report of conclusions on the case, he or she shall receive 1 hour of CME credit for each hour spent reviewing the materials and preparing the report. A maximum of 10 hours may be used for disciplinary case review during the 2 years. The BOE has requirements that are slightly different from the BME's. The course must be approved in content, structure, and/or format by the American Osteopathic Association, by the ACCME, or a state medical association recognized by the ACCME as an intrastate accreditor of sponsors of CME, or designated by the AAFP as meeting the criteria of the AAFP's prescribed credit. They also must be approved by the BOE as Category 1A, 2A, or 1B. The TMA received accreditation from the ACCME in 2014 and may now accredit CME in-house. TMA offers accredited classes on our website at www.tnmed.org. Click on Professional Development in the top toolbar and choose Online CME to see the catalog of courses available. Specifically, TMA offers the course titled Prescribing Guidelines for Pain Management and Patient Safety, which has been approved by the BME as meeting all the requirements enumerated in its rules for the 2-hour course on controlled substance prescribing. One of the benefits of the online course is that it may be taken at any time that's convenient for the prescriber. Many other licensing boards in Tennessee accept the TMA class. For example, the Board of Nursing states that this class is acceptable for its licensees that must comply with the 2-hour requirement. Any DO or non-physician licensee should check with his or her licensing board before taking the TMA class. Physicians that are board certified by the American Board of Medical Specialties, American Osteopathic Association, or the American Board of Physician Specialties in anesthesiology, neurology, pain management, rheumatology, or physical medicine and rehabilitation do not have to take the 2-hour controlled substance CME class. This is because these specialties are already required to complete several hours of training in controlled substances by virtue of their board certifications. However, they are still required to complete 40 hours of CME every 2 years. Licensees are exempt from all CME requirements if their license is retired or placed on inactive status pursuant to the BME rules. The last exemption applies only to licensees obtaining a license in the same year that he or she successfully completes the USMLE Step 3 or the NBOME COMLEX for DOs. This exemption is good only for the calendar year in which the license is issued. A licensing board may waive the CME requirement in the event of illness, disability, or other undue hardship beyond the control of the licensee that prevents him or her from complying. The waiver request must be sent in writing to the BME or BOE prior to the end of the calendar year in which the CME is due. The request should be sent to the executive director of the board. Licensees must retain independent documentation for 4 years showing that they completed the required CME hours. Do not send the documentation in with your license renewal. Each board conducts random audits every month. If you are chosen for an audit, you will receive a letter from the board requesting that you produce copies of your CME documentation for inspection and verification. If you do not have the required amount of hours or have unacceptable documentation, the board will notify you in writing and ask for an explanation. The next slide discusses acceptable forms of documentation. Documentation must be either the original certificate or letter or photocopy of the certificate or letter from the course provider verifying the licensee's attendance and or completion of hours, or documentation from the American Academy of Family Physicians indicating the acquired CME hours. The BOE allows original letters on official institution stationery from the instructor of the graduate level course verifying that the course was completed and listing the number of credit hours completed by the individual. The BOE also allows an official transcript verifying credit hours earned. 1 semester academic credit hour is equivalent to 15 clock hours for the purpose of licensure renewal. Credit for auditing a class will be for the actual clock hours in attendance, not to exceed the academic credit. Make sure to keep a copy of the CME documentation that you send to your licensing board pursuant to an audit. Any osteopathic physician that does not obtain the required CME hours is subject to a civil penalty of $40 for every Category 1 hour the physician fails to obtain. A medical doctor must pay $100 for each hour not obtained. After receipt of notification from the licensing board that a physician has violated this provision and of the specified fine, the physician must send the penalty to the licensing board within 60 days. Additionally, the physician must also obtain 10 extra hours of CME beyond the required 40 hours. The 10 hours must be made up within 2 years of notification from the board. It's important to note that the physician must make up the deficient CME hours as well as the current hours. The physician has 180 days to make up the deficient hours after notification from the board. Once the deficient CME is completed, documentation must be submitted to the board. Failure to comply with the requirement for CME by the BME or the BOE to respond to a board request for documentation or to make up deficient CME hours after board notification may result in disciplinary action. CME obtained as a result of compliance with orders in a disciplinary action or pursuant to licensure or renewal conditions mandated by the board shall not be credited toward the CME hours required for any calendar year. Each board has a policy on failure to obtain required continuing education. These were summarized on the previous slide and can be found in their entirety on the websites listed on your screen. If you have any questions about anything we have said in this spotlight, please contact the TMA Legal Department at legal@tnmed.org or call us at 1-800-659-1862. You can also visit our website at www.tnmed.org for continuous updates on CME requirements and any other laws or issues affecting the practice of medicine in Tennessee. We also have an extensive law guide with over 150 topics related to the practice of medicine, which you can find at the link printed at the bottom of your screen. The law guide includes a chapter on CME. This resource is for TMA members only, so you will need your member ID and password to access any of the law guide topics. If you are not a member and are interested in joining the TMA, please visit our website to learn more and begin the registration process. Thank you for joining us for this session of TMA Spotlights.